Hello and welcome back to another AI Reality Bytes with me, Amanda Prochaska. I'm so glad that you're here today because we are going to be talking about how quickly this world is changing and how we can enable our teams to keep up with that change. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about Wonder Services Rapid Adoption Enablement methodology, or what we call RAE. RAE is all about how do we go from shifting our mindset from those like 5-year programs or 26-month programs to these new AI implementations that can happen in weeks. It is a much faster, more rapid pace that we are going to be experiencing in our corporate lives. So how do we make sure that A, our teams don't get burnt out, but B, we can accomplish everything moving as quickly as we can? So here's what Rapid Adoption Enablement is all about. We have 4 different areas of focus, and if you've watched my videos before, I love acronyms, so we're going to dive right into some acronyms today to help you remember what RAE really is all about. So think about RAE as your way to gather your resources and activate them to success. So what does that look like? First, what we need is a clear mission and measurement, and that's what we call MM. So mission and measurement is, think about like, what are we trying to accomplish? And let's just say this project is going to last 8 to 12 weeks. What are we going to accomplish as an outcome of this particular implementation or project or whatever you're working on? And so good leaders, good teams always point out to what are we trying to achieve, and let's gather our resources, gather our focus, gather our efforts in the mission completion. One of my best and most, I guess, cherished memories of working in corporate America was opening properties for MGM. The mission was clear. We opened that property on time and within budget. And more the on time than maybe the in budget was the mission. But like, one of the properties that I opened, they sold thousands of tickets for the opening night, and that was not going to get changed. So we had to get that property open, and everyone that was working on getting that property open was on that same mission. All of their focus was there, and guess what happened? All the politics kind of went away. We all were aligned and stepping up and helping each other out because the mission was clear. That's what you need to do with your teams, is make sure that your mission is clear for that particular engagement, project, initiative, whatever you're calling it. The other part of that is, what is your measurement? I love to think about my husband a lot and how we're different in the best of ways, but he's very analytical. So you can give a great mission to him, but until there's a measurement around it, it's not as clear. So for those people who love numbers, love the analytics, love the black and white, give them a metric that they can go after. It moves mountains. And for a 8 to 12 week program, you don't need to go overboard on these metrics. We're talking like 1 to 2 of what we're trying to accomplish at the end of the day. And if you can hit those targets, then it's a success. So that is mission and measurement. That always starts, everything that you do starts there. Okay. Then how do you organize yourselves? And that's when you have a tiger team concept deployed. This is the TT of our acronyms. So, well, I don't know if they're acronyms, but they're kind of initials in this case. But the TT is all about a tiger team. And what is a tiger team? A tiger team is, let's just say, 5 to maybe 7 people who are experts in the space that is changing. Okay. And because we're moving so quickly, a lot of the formality around project teams might or might not work. Tiger teams are a different way of looking at your resources where you can move very, very quickly. So you take people who are experts in the area of the project and you enable them to lead. It's amazing when you don't have like people coming in from an executive level who might have an idea of what's going on, but they don't know the reality of what's going on. If you just get the people in the room who are actually doing the work to facilitate getting the work done, you can move much, much more quickly. Okay. So you take these 5 to 7 people. And the critical part of this that you need to be able to enable on this team is decision-making authority. These 5 to 7 people can make decisions. They can inform you about those decisions, or they can come to you requesting your advice around a decision. But the team needs to have the ability to make decisions so that they can move as quickly as the work is being done. Now, the cool thing about this is 2 things. First of all, you have a team of people who are now engaged on the change. They are part of it. They are designing it. It is going to be theirs. So it helps with change management, change adoption, change burnout, because now they are part of the change and they're not just getting told what to do. The second awesome thing about a Tiger team is that leaders become coaches. So when I used to deploy Tiger teams where I used to work, and when we help support our customers doing this, the leaders can meet with the team once a week, every single day. If you do it every single day, it's like a 15-minute check-in. But when those leaders are there, they are there to be an advisor, to be a coach, not to make decisions unless asked, but to advise them so that they can keep the pace of what is needed to make that change happen. So leaders across the board are learning how to become really effective coaches, which is a new skill set for some of the leaders that we're engaging with. So it's another part of the benefit of deploying a Tiger team. Now, so we've gone through mission and measurement. We've gone through Tiger teams, TT. Let's move on to crystal clear communications. Now, as things are moving very quickly, and as people who might not be engaged on the project are being impacted by the project, you might have stakeholders across the board, you might have suppliers that are engaged, whatever that might look like, you need to have crystal clear and frequent communications to keep everyone up to speed. There is no, hey, we're going to work for the next 5 weeks and let somebody know at the end. That cannot happen. So what we say is that you communicate from day one around what is happening on a project. And there's 2 really great ways of doing that we advise our leaders to do. The first one is to enable real-time analytics on the project. Now, if you have operational metrics that you're already impacting on the project, those are a great place to start. But allow people to have real-time access through a dashboard or whatever they want. They can peek in on the metrics on the project so that they can keep themselves informed. The other thing that you can do is, if you don't have operational metrics that are being impacted yet, you can also publish the updates or the analytics from the project themselves. So for instance, hey, we had X amount of tasks that we were working on this week. Y amount of those have been closed, and here's how we've closed them. So it's almost like a status update, but in real time as much as possible, so that people can inform themselves of the change. Now, here's the thing. People are probably saying, well, my stakeholders never look at that stuff. That's true. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. But if they ask for a status, you can always say, hey, go look at our real-time status and dashboards, and you can see it yourself. So it's a great tool to show how responsive that you are, to show how informed you're trying to make the public that's being impacted be. So we highly encourage that real-time dashboard capability if you can do it. The other really great mechanism of communication constantly is I like the 15-minute every day in the morning touch base. We usually leave this open to almost whomever wants to attend. So if you know stakeholders who are being impacted, other people in the organizations that you can invite that might want to be informed, I would go ahead and invite them. And the 15-minute touch point is really interesting because you can give a quick update on how things are going and what to expect. Now, the format for those meetings is very important. We usually recommend a 3-2-1 approach, which is 3 things that were accomplished in the last 24 hours, 2 items that need a decision or need to be worked on or are risks, and then 1 story, okay? And the story is something that I would say is the most important part of that meeting because it makes it real for everyone. Now, if you're doing this every day, getting a story every day, it might not be a long one, right? It might be a very short one. It might be a story about something new that came up yesterday that you guys weren't aware of and that you corrected. One of my favorite stories of when I was opening the property at MGM, we had an issue in the warehouse, and so we needed to go all hands on deck. And some of my colleagues from the food and beverage area of the hotel, they were always very, very well dressed. I don't know if you know of any food and beverage people at these luxury resorts. They seem to be very well dressed at all times. But I had a picture of one of my colleagues in a 3-piece suit hauling pallets in the warehouse. And that was my story one day. And it was all about how we're coming together to really make an impact and get the problem areas corrected. So a little story goes a long way when you're communicating and moving very, very quickly. Okay, so we've gone through MM, we've gone through TT, we've gone through CC, crystal clear communications. The final one, and I would say the root of it all, or what I call gold in a project, is the frequent feedback, and that's FF. So FF is all around how do you focus your team on always trying to gather feedback as you're moving very, very quickly. Now, some leaders have told me feedback slows you down. I challenge that thought process. Feedback actually gives you better direction to be successful. Okay? So if you are moving quickly and you are not getting feedback, how do you know you're hitting the mark? How do you know what the challenges are going to be, the risks might be? So what I always encourage leaders to do on these Tiger teams is to enable frequent feedback mechanisms so that you always have your ear to the organization and you're listening and incorporating as much as possible, or understanding that there are some concerns that you're just not going to be able to solve moving forward, so you can anticipate that reaction and how you're going to solve for it. So gathering feedback is really cultural. I'll give you a couple of tips here today, but frequent feedback could be, hey, I'm going to have one-on-ones with some influencers in my organization around this change so I can hear what they have to say. I know that there are some people in the organization that are just not going to like change. Can I meet with them and get their feedback, their questions? Can I enable the leader who is now coaching me? If I'm sitting on a Tiger team, can I enable my leaders to go out and talk to other leaders and get their feedback? It could be one-on-one, it could be surveys, it could be town halls with interactive polling. You can do all kinds of things, but the root of this is every time we think about communicating on these Tiger teams, you have to be looking for feedback. Okay, so often we get into the rhythm of communicating information out, when communication, any good communication, is a two-way street. So communicate out for sure, but always be looking for that feedback loop on the backside. And that's how you can stay focused, precise, and avoid the risks that might slow you down. So with that said, that is Rapid Adoption Enablement, RAE. It's 4 components: mission and measurement, Tiger teams, crystal clear communications, and frequent feedback. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to move very quickly through these changes and keep pace with the technology that is coming our way. So with that said, I am Amanda Prochaska. I love bringing these videos to you. If you liked this video, hit like and subscribe so that we can bring you the constant updates from our end and the thought processes as we're moving into the AI era. With that, cheers, and we'll see you next time.